The web is going to certainly change as the systems, when they become of mass use, are going to change things. For example, sales systems or reservation systems. If there is millions of agents trying to reserve a ticket or book a restaurant, etc., that is going to change the way that the economies work.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of AI Without Borders. I'm thrilled to have Juan Pinzón. Juan is a senior member of the technical staff at Yutori, a startup building browser agents that raised over $15 million from funds like Radical Ventures and Felicis. Juan was also an engineer at Humane, one of the first AI wearable companies. And before that, he spent over 10 years at Apple. So for people who are not as familiar and haven't used Yutori yet, what does Yutori do and what problem are you trying to solve with browser-based agents?
We launched Yutori 2 days ago, fresh off the presses. Yutori is trying to solve a problem where we're trying to create a chief of staff. And a chief of staff is basically somebody that is going to be able to help you with any task that you can do on the web. But right now, that chief of staff is our long-term vision. The current version that we launch is basically, think about it like a Google Alerts, but on steroids using AI.
And one of the things that Yutori specifically focuses on, it's a lot on browser use cases, browser agents. What are the biggest cost and latency bottlenecks that exist, and what have you learned about making that economically and technically feasible at scale?
So yeah, cost effectiveness is one of the things where Yutori can be one of the key things for Yutori to survive, actually. And not only computer use models are inference heavy, but we're going to be running all of these models constantly. So our inference bill was initially pretty crazy. We have learned that sometimes specialized tools, like everybody's learning, are much better than using models. It's better to use the Expedia API rather than going through the website with a computer use model. You are going to get better results. So building specialized tools and having more tools to interact with the systems is one of the keys. Also, we have learned how when you start running a process, the first time is really hard, right? The computer use have to go think about how to navigate the website, but subsequent runs, it doesn't have to run through all of the steps. It already knows what to check. So those runs become much more effective. And there is things that you can do to confirm if things have changed, very lightweight things, looking at like, has the website been updated yet? Like looking at simple transactions like timestamps on the files, etc., which makes it much more cost effective. So yeah, those are the biggest learnings in terms of cost effectiveness. In terms of latency bottlenecks, I think for us, latency is a thing, but not as such a big priority for us, because once you set the task on our world, we are constantly running those tasks. And so you don't really feel the latency once some of the tasks are run, right? So it's repetitively, it is though important to provide feedback to the system. So that's where we're trying to improve and creating new and fun ways to visualize what is happening, because some of these tools are doing so much for you that it's hard to understand what is happening. We're spending a good amount of time in building new ways on how to interact with the user. You kind of sometimes need to build the trust, right? Just like when you're working with a person, with your chief of, you need to trust that person, and you kind of have to sometimes look at what they're doing, right? So that's one of the things that we're doing in that space. Yeah.
And related to that cost efficiency point, one of the use cases I tested was set a task where it would search for World Cup tickets, and if certain match went below a certain price, it would warn me. Ideally, you want that running live, but obviously running that every minute or every second till it matches, it's very expensive. So how do you balance between the user task on how frequently you run those tasks, which is the ideal world, but it's also might be overly expensive to do?
We ask the users how actively they want to run that. Of course, for us, it's not very cost effective to constantly run all of these checks. But there is also some cheap ways that you can have to constantly check if something has been updated. So it is relative sometimes to the quality of the data that is on the website, and also if they are good citizens in terms of engineering on like, do they have good practices on like how to reflect that they have updated the data, etc. So that helps for tasks like that.
And as you were mentioning earlier, for several, in an ideal world, for many things, you use tools which are more efficient and faster. But still, for other, given what the providers expose you, you do need that browser use cases. What types of web interfaces or blockers have you found like break browser agents, or where they've struggled the most?
I think just like humans, when the interface is not clear or the labels, etc., are not like they, let's say, for example, it finds documentation and then it goes to tries out that documentation. The UI is incorrect or it has changed. Then of course it gets confused and it tries and it doesn't work. So those cases are where it's failing. When, for example, there is a UI pattern that is not common, that's another case that where it's failing. So which are much more challenging. Or websites like, for example, Figma. Figma is a very hard case, right? Like it's designing stuff. It's precision on where to click. Those are definitely challenges. It works incredibly well for well-established forums, which is the large majority of like websites and things that have like standard patterns, like links and stuff like that. It works very, very well.
And related to those challenges, it's a very horizontal system, and it's working on a dynamic web where it is struggling, and two, if it was able to achieve the desired task. So wanted to ask you about the challenge, and if you have any insights about that evaluation for that dynamic web and such horizontal use cases.
Is definitely a challenge, and I think we are trying our best to crack that. I think context is very important. So asking questions, also collection of the collecting feedback from our customers to detect when things are not going the right way and act on that data and how to consume that data and improve the result based on that. It's a key thing. I really like that at Yutori because we're being disciplined about collecting data, analyzing it, and turn it to make the product better. I think the world has changed in that with AI. The way we create quality products is changing. Data is so much more important than feedback to improve the experiences. So yeah, you need to be much more disciplined in this world.
Do you think that browser use and browser agents are the right way for agents to interact in the web, or do you eventually need a new protocol or way for agents to do that interaction that it's more efficient and not trying to adapt in the way that humans interacted with the web?
So that's an interesting question. I think right now they are the right thing as long as the web continues to be in its current shape or form. But the web is going to certainly change as the systems, when they become of mass use, are going to change things, are going to change the way we certain, for example, sales systems or reservation systems act, right? If there is millions of agents trying to reserve a ticket or book a restaurant, etc., that is going to change the way that the economies work, right? So definitely is computer use are the right thing at this moment. We'll see in 5 years or 10 years what has happened with the economy and the web in general. But I think the patterns of the web, etc., are here to stay.
One of the challenges I find with horizontal agents is showing the users the art of the possible and trying to pinpoint, okay, this does so many things, but how can it be useful for me? I wanted to ask you if you have any insight, thoughts, perspective on that, showing the art of the possible and managing that challenge.
I think understanding what people needs is very important to have better results at the task you ask for your LM, right? It's just kind of like get a better prompts for the AI. I think there is a trend overall in the new AI products where we're going away from this structure of like, oh, you have to build a profile. You're gonna tell me your birthday, your sex, all this different information. Those experiences are turning into conversations with you. The agent is gonna ask you what is your role, what is that you desired out of the system, and that is going to help build better results. I've been having different conversations over the last 2 years with different companies. And I've seen some very, very interesting interfaces where, for example, the onboarding process of certain products are now chats, right? And those chats are just building context. So that is helping a lot. One, to build a good context so that the results of the LM are good and are not as generic. And two, it's also helping shape where the companies are going. With that data, we now understand as like this company, the people, this is what the most important things that people want out of these systems. And that is driving some of the direction of the company. That is kind of happening in real time, right? We need to collect the data in order to know where to go.
And are there any apps that you used recently to that note that you admire, either the way they designed the onboarding or even have the app or the way that they deliver the value of LLMs?
There is a company in Palo Alto called the Computer Company. They're also doing like an AS. They are doing an AS assistant, and very interesting way how they start their onboarding process. You basically tell them your phone, and the sign up process is all through iMessage and an interaction between your phone. So it's very interesting. They use voice, they use text messages, and it's completely different to what you used to do of going to a link, entering a bunch of details on a form. So the very interesting way of onboarding somebody into a product. And I've also seen some demos on some VCs companies where, for example, there is this like social intelligence, like what is the future of social application in the world of AI? Well, they need to understand a little bit better and then there's going to be like this over intelligence that helps you connect with other people based on the conversations that you have with it. So, for example, imagine if Discord had an AI that is like knows your interests and can tell you, hey, there's this other person that is interested in AI in the world of vision. You guys should talk. So I think there is a lot of interesting things are happening there to build context and to help the LMs help you in much more specialized ways.
Yeah, no, I agree. Context is everything. I recently shared a LinkedIn short post about using voice AI on part of the onboarding experiences to capture context. And there is a startup called Boardy AI, which fairly similar to the example you mentioned. They kind of force you to have a call with the AI, and in that call, they get information from you. And speaking of exciting trends, you before Yutori, you were working at Humane, a very public and visible story, one of the first companies to go towards the AI wearables market. But I wanted to ask you some reflections of that experience that Humane did got right and had like very good insights despite the outcome.
I think vision and brand. Vision, it's the right vision, is a vision that most big companies are still chasing with glasses, with very different form factors. Sam Malman himself is trying to still chasing it with the help of Johnny Ive. So that vision, I think, still hasn't changed. We were one of the first to endeavor in that world. What is the form factor? The judges, I think probably it's going to be everywhere. I think you're going to have it in cars. Yesterday, Rivian was announcing their system, and it was a very very interesting system. You're like you have a full agent in your car, right? You're also going to have you need things capturing context like the glasses or a little pin that it has a camera. Capturing context is what it's all about, and Humane had the right vision and the right brand. I think the human part of all of this is very important. Where AI is failing is that the ways that we're interacting with AI are very antiquated. So we're not able to leverage the power of AI today because of the way we interact with computers. And we're leaving a large group of people that are not computer literate out of this game until we find better and more intuitive form factors.
And do you think the ultimate failure was more related to the hardware form factor they had? Was it related to maybe LLMs at the time where it launched not being great? Or overall, what are some of the learnings we reflected first on the things that Humane got right, maybe the things that it didn't got right on that first attempt?
I think one, we had a problem of communication, and that problem of communication turned into a problem of quality. And in this world, as I was saying before, you need discipline, because, for example, you need to be very scientific about collecting data and knowing what works and what doesn't. And that communication problem I was talking, we had the founder is a great visionary. I think he understands the vision of where computing is going. But to be a great visionary, you also have to understand the limits of things and when to say, well, this was a great idea, it's not working. Let's pause it and focus on something else. A lot of times, or most of the times, in the urge of pushing harder for that larger vision, things got dropped to the floor, and then they went the wrong direction. So ultimately, discipline and communication are the things that didn't happen at Humane.
The other point I wanted to ask you about is a lot of people today are speaking about taste. You described it earlier this week to me more of having product sense. How do you personally define product sense in the age of AI? And how do you evaluate if somebody has that product sense or not?
I think product sense is something that you develop over time. Some people are very good at it, but you can train it. And is that instinct of knowing where to take things and what is going to work or not. I index highly on it. I think it's a skill to, for example, be able to successfully guide your AI to build your application. You're going to have that sense of what works and what doesn't, right? Not all the time you can collect data and do an A/B testing to see if that works or not. So that is there. There is. I wonder what is going to happen with this world of building user experiences. I come from a world at Apple where the way Apple operates is where designers and engineers know better than consumers. And there was really little feedback that you collected there. And it worked very well. And I think we still need some of that. But now we're in a world where the solutions are so broad that you need to collect data and you need to learn from that. And you need to find the right point in that intersection. And I think having a good product sense, like going to the experience of building different products, etc., really, really helps finding that intersection.
And if you had to advise somebody earlier on their product career, how to develop that product sense, any tactical advice that you would give them on how to over time acquire that?
I think, one is use a lot of products. I think being an early adopter, learning seeing, observing other companies, how they do it. Also building your own products and trying out the stuff. Is super important. Listening to others and having those conversations and learning how to have that conversations where you can have a strong position or opinion about something and learning how to reconcile that without compromising, just aiming to do the best, but having that civilized conversation to build. It's a fundamental thing that not everybody has. And some people struggle with it. I've seen incredibly talented people in the technical world that cannot come to an agreement and work in which direction to go. So being able to negotiate, find that middle point and have those conversations and have that back and forth, and be willing to sometimes compromise to learn is a very important thing. And also play around with things. Go and there is some very interesting websites that have actually now archive and go through different interfaces and patterns. So that's another good way to learn about product sense. Going to these archives of designers, where they say this is a good pattern, this is not a good pattern, this works, this doesn't. But it's a world that is changing. It's a world that is currently changing. What used to work 10 years ago, I think is not valid for the AI world. And I'm kind of learning that as we go.
No, that's I think those are great reflections. Even someone I experienced as you were sharing, having that mindset. And with that, I'll jump to the last segue, the quick fire round. So I give you three diverse questions, and you give me your reactions. If you had to pick one company that you think is more likely to succeed in creating the right form factor for creating the AI wearable. Are you more bullish on Meta with their glasses approach, OpenAI, obviously with the unknown John Ive coming product, who knows what it's going to come, or Apple, given their leadership so far in the hardware consumer space?
Meta is doing great work. I think the glasses are an example of a great form factor, and they have killed it with the glasses. Like it's a fantastic product, but they have the privacy problem and the trust problem as a brand. So I'm not sure like you're willing to like that's a great barrier. OpenAI is certainly trying to become the operative system of your world. They might have a good chance. They have the money and the talents and the right vision. I think that vision of like they're gonna become the big AI system platform. They have that. So I'm currently saying probably OpenAI has a big chance of doing that, but they have to learn how to do hardware, and that is hard.
That's a common saying, like hardware is hard, but if you had to say like this based on my experience in the space, there are the two things that people maybe don't even think about when they get in the space that are way more challenging than anyone anticipates.
In the space of hardware,
Yeah.
um, I think, the same problems that the glasses, the Meta glasses have right now: battery and latency. Those are the two key problems. It becomes really frustrating. And then the final challenge is of all this data that you collect, how do you turn it into something meaningful that you can infer other things from? There is this bigger space that nobody really has done big progress on it. Maybe Google is the best one to improve progress, and is building context and your memories. How to build this memory database, how to connect the dots between all the things that happen in your life. That is still open. I think probably whoever is going to be able to build a successful story in connecting all the data points of all the context that you're capturing with your devices is probably going to have a big chance of winning this race of the new form factor and becoming the prevalent AI platform.
No, those are great points. What trend in the AI space are you most excited coming into 2026? Something that you think it's going to have like a big moment similar to how MCP had it in 2025?
Smaller, more specialized agents that are probably going to run locally in your on your devices. A great example is there is a platform called Transformer.js, and Transformer.js are basically um, running models on your browser using the GPUs in your computer, and they are getting incredibly good. Apple is jumping on it, Google is jumping on it, other companies are also chipping in. Microsoft is building also new platforms for the web on that regard. And there is already some great examples. Like you can run a full model, a language model with 3 billion parameters on a modern computer, on a laptop. Or you can run a model that is describing a video and adding captions to a video real time. And those demos are available today. So I'm very, very excited what is coming for the web in particular. There is a whole new set of applications, and it solves part of the problem of privacy that I think we did great progress in the 2010s in terms of privacy. And then AI went and erased all of that.
And to finish up, what would you say is your most contrarian opinion in the AI space? Maybe something that you read in the news or X or LinkedIn that you constantly think, I totally think the opposite or think this is totally wrong.
The most contrarian, I think, is I'm very troubled on what is going to happen with economies and employment around the world. I, even though I'm contributing to build and improve AI, I'm not at ease with how lightly we're taking that part. So I don't agree that, for example, some of the people are saying we're going to have a general base income and AI is going to create that. I don't see that happening. And so I really worry about what is happening because I've seen it this year as a developer. My job has completely changed and the work in the Valley has completely changed in 1 year.
No, it's a mix of exciting times, scary times, all at the same time, moving extremely fast. But no one with that note. Thank you so much for joining. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Daniel, for your time and thank you for inviting me.